Hey everyone, welcome. It's Michael. Glad you're joining today. We are taking some of the leaves that have fallen in other parts of the property and we're putting them to good use. We're putting them in the tree wells. So that's what I was in the middle of doing. Today we've got a great episode. We got a full orchard tour. We're going to cover every plant that's planted here in the orchard. I don't even know how many there are anymore. It's 65, 70, I don't even know. So we'll go through it, we'll count them and check it out. But you get a chance to see every tree that's in the orchard. And what's really nice is that here in November, December, we've got plants that are still producing fruit, which is what you want. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to have an appearance from the orchard protector, my Rhodesian Ridgeback Sahara. She'll make a little bit of an appearance midway through. And then if you stick around at the end, we're going to talk a little bit of orchard wisdom and some orchard insights that I'll share with you. So, and also, by the way, it would be great if you can do me a big favor, like and subscribe, support the channel, greatly appreciate it. But I'm just really excited about being able to do the full tour of the orchard today. So with no further ado, let's get into it right now. Let's start with the bananas. We're right at the edge of the citrus zone. Look at all these citrus. We'll come back. We're going to end the tour with the citrus. Some fantastic stuff happening there. But let's start with the bananas. I recently covered a video on the bananas, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. We're in a little bit of a race against time. We're trying to get the bananas to ripen before cold weather hits, sub 45 degrees. Been out here today, just really building up the mulch around it. I want to keep it as warm as possible because bananas will basically shut down and stop growing during cold nights and days. So we'll see what happens, but I just did a video on them. Guys, check that out. Check out those videos that I just did on the bananas. And we'll share more there. The pomegranates, again, my favorite fruit. And even coming into end of November into December, we still have a few more that's on the tree. This is a, what variety is this? This is the Granada. Look at that, there's another one there. The one on this tree is the one that ripens first. And the ones that are still on here are starting to dry out, starting to become a little bit overripe. But they're pretty decent pomegranate. Grapes over here. These are the only fruit trees that were here in the orchard before I started planting. And I got to get some tips from a work buddy of mine named Jason that's really good at growing grapes. Those are not doing very well. The Parfiaca, maybe my favorite variety. What's left are just some of the fruit that's underdeveloped. We'll pick the rest of those off and get it ready for next year. They're a wonderful variety. There's a few more left. Again, we're at the end of pomegranate season, so you're not going to see a bunch of pomegranates this late in the season, but we do have a few. My sister and I ate one yesterday that was incredible. Probably one of the best pomegranates I've ever had, so great stuff. With the pomegranates, we just need to get more next year. This one is been trimmed up. I need to get some of those suckers out. See all those new suckers growing? It's too many. Clip them out. I've trimmed out the bottom so I can have access to the tree well. Clean out the suckers, keep it clean. I'll probably come back and cut this down a little bit. Keep all the fruit at a nice, manageable area. Then there's one more. Look at this oddball pomegranate. See how it's growing out of the branch, out of the stem, kind of on the side. That's different. And then this is the angel red. That last variety is the wonderful variety, the kind you get in the stores, but this is at least 3 times better than the ones you can find in the stores because they maintain and get to a sweetness that the other ones can't rival. Anyways, that's the angel red. And that's just another very sweet variety of pomegranate. Let's walk back over to the Loquats. The Loquats. Love when they start flowering. Look at these flowers. They're almost done flowering. They're now setting fruit. And this is a fruit tree that will put on fruit and ripen right around March, April. So a really great early season fruit. Here are more of the Loquats. That last one was an Oliver. This one is a Champagne. Oliver's a more yellow, orangish. This one's a more maybe light yellow to white flesh Loquat. These do really well. This is a miracle tree that died, and I think it just didn't like the cold over last winter, and it likes to be a little bit more humid area. I have two other miracle berries I will share that are miracle trees that are doing really well. Jaboticaba right here, a very unique kind of a fruit tree that the fruit will actually grow on the bark. Purple, kind of a grapish like taste. Takes years for them to develop, 4 or 5 years to develop. This has been in ground a couple of years, so we'll be patient with that one. And then we've got grapes growing over here, different varieties. I think that's the Suffolk Red. This is a purple grape called the Black Manuka. The one over here is a Interlaken, a green grape. It's doing pretty well. It's growing out, it's doing decent. These are an old set that didn't do so well. Look at the planting difference where it's kind of elevated. The dirt is hard to water, hard to maintain moisture. These I've done a lot better. You dig down, it's moist. The dirt looks different, it looks richer. And the results, as you can see, are a much better result for the ones that I have planted in a different fashion. All right, so those are the grapes. Here's the kiwis, hardy kiwi. I won't spend a lot of time on the tropicals. I also did a recent video on the tropicals. These have struggled a little bit. The late summer, taking a number on this plant. We'll see if it'll come back. We're trying to put more mulch in here, keep it warm over the winter. And this is a spring, late spring producing fruit. So we want to get that in a little better condition. The jabo, this is a red jaboticaba. This one has done pretty well. A little bit of burning on the tips of the leaves, but overall it looks pretty good. Here is another. This is the Jenny kiwi. Also decent amount of damage to the leaves. Have to strip most of these off. But I think the core vine is healthy, so we should be okay. Miracle berry, love miracle berries. We've got a few on here. Look at those guys. There's one there. This one's getting overripe right here. To take that off. Those are doing well. There's some blueberries in this area as well. Planted down the way. The dwarf Namois banana, doing well. We've got some more grapes. This is probably where the grapes are doing the best. This is a ladyfinger. They are green grapes that have kind of the oblong, kind of fruit that look like fingers. And the other one is a razzmatazz grape. This was a little guy I put in this year. It's doing really well. And that's supposed to be a really tasty grape. Got that from Laguna Hills Nursery. Great little plant. And then down below, we have a lychee. Lychee's not doing very well, but we're doing some things with the soil to get it in a better condition. And as you see, there's actually some table scraps, paper and fruit and other scraps that we're going to use to get more nutrients into the food. Brief interlude from our Rhodesian Ridgeback. I say she's exercising the dogs. This happens a couple times a day. My neighbor has 3 dogs over there, and Sahara is getting her aerobic workout in. All right, so let's get back to the tour. The passion fruit is just amazing. I mean, this thing just produces over and over again. This is about the 4th or 5th time this year that it's gone through a cycle of producing fruit, dropping the fruit, flowering again, and just repeating the cycle. Amazing productivity. Here's a moringa, by the way. I'm about to plant it to the ground. There's some mulch. There's my big wheelbarrow and the hole over there. But back to this passion fruit. I mean, if you want a fruit tree that is going to be very productive in hot weather, I don't know how it deals in very cold weather, but it's pretty cold sensitive down to probably freezing. Handles well into the 40s and 30s. Handles heat extremely well. Serves as a privacy vine. I mean, it just does a lot of wonderful things that you'd want. It does get intrusive, so you do need to have combo with your neighbors about, you know, the upkeep and it expanding into their area. But man, there's just so many great benefits of the passion fruit. I'm a big fan of it. Look at this one. This one's starting to get ripe. Look at that. That's great. Here is the hole where I'm putting in a moringa. Another one next to this one here. That's a great fruit as well. By the way, in the passion fruit, I did a video on that one, so if you want to learn more about it, check that out. And hey guys, how are you guys? Sahara, she's not here right now. She went to play. All right, she'll be back. She'll be back, guys. Anyways, back on the moringa. That's just a fantastic fruit you really want to look into. Let's go up the hill. This is the highest level of my property. And I just did a video on mangoes. This little guy produced a fruit and it paid the price. It stunted. That's a cotton candy mango. And over here is a Jamaican cherry tree, AKA strawberry tree. The flowers look like strawberries, which is why they call them a strawberry tree, but the berries actually look like that. That's a berry getting ripe. This thing is grows pretty big. It's a fantastic tree to provide shade. It will get fairly vigorous. Doesn't like the cold too much. So it's another tree I'm gonna make sure I really put a lot of mulch in that tree well, keep it as warm as possible at the base. But it's producing fruit, only a few months in the ground. Look at that little guy there. Supposedly those fruit taste like fruity pebbles. I had a few off this tree. They're so-so, but you cannot fully decide what a tree's fruit is gonna taste like on the first year. A lot of times when that tree is young, that fruit is gonna taste okay, but it's gonna keep getting better year after year. All right, so that is the strawberry tree. Moving right along, we've got more mangoes in this area and some other fruits that we'll highlight. This is the sugarloaf fruit punch over here. Again, I just did a video on it. This bin I use to kind of mix dirt. You know, it's kind of hard to get a wheelbarrow up on the hillside. So that's what that's used for. This is the orange sherbet. Orange sherbet's doing pretty well. The apple tree is almost done. There's 2. Look at this. This is a unique 2-in-1 planting with a Granny Smith right here. My second favorite apple. Used to be my first. My favorite apple as a child. Pretty good size apples. And then this is a Pink Lady, which is now my favorite. Love the Pink Lady apples. What's great about these varieties, they're very late season. We're getting apples into November and into December, which is fantastic because that's a big gap. And we'll finish on the avocados. Let's go over to this tree, mulberry tree. It's been beat up a little bit over summer, but I think it's okay. Did a video on mulberries. Hopefully we'll get fruit this year. We'll see. But that's the mulberry, Pakistan mulberry, which is supposed to be the sweetest, very long, elongated fruit. And then up there is a sweet tart mango. Again, check out the mango video that I just did on it. Good stuff there. Here are 2 avocados. Avocados are notorious for taking 4 or 5 years to actually get fruit. This was planted, and I love these tags, folks. This was planted November of 2020. So it's been in the ground literally 3 years. And this is the first year it looks like it's gonna hold its fruit. Look at, there's some fruit, a couple of pieces there. There's a couple of more here. Ah, there's 5. Yeah, there's about 5 pieces of fruit. For the first time it's holding fruit this long. They actually produce flowers around April, May time frame, and usually each year they've dropped several months prior to November. It's holding now, and that's a good sign. This fuerte looks also really good. Look at the quality of the leaves. The leaves look healthy. I didn't even cover it. You see this? This is the shade cloth that I used to protect it. I didn't cover it this summer. I've got enough kind of cover from, believe it or not, these palm trees and some of the other trees of how this is nestled in amongst other trees. It didn't produce fruit. It did flower. Didn't produce fruit this year, but I'm just loving how strong and healthy this is looking. So this is the fuerte avocado. All right, we're in the home stretch, and we've got a few trees that have been fairly successful. The first one, we haven't got fruit yet, but it's looking healthy. This is the multi-bud cherry tree. It's a 4-in-1, and it's got the Lampins, it's got the Van, it's got the Rainier, and one more that is escaping me, pretty popular variety. That's gonna bug me, but it'll come back to me. Anyways, it's doing pretty well. This one has been really incredible. It's a 4-in-1 stone fruit tree. So we've got a nectarine, apricot, peach, plum, all on one tree. We're starting to lose its leaves. So here, deep into November, beginning of December, we still have a few leaves on the tree. My trees, my deciduous trees, only are bare for about a month here in this Southern California weather. They don't stay barren very long, I guess because of the weather. And then look at this. This is a blackberry tree, and it's flowering again. It's done this a few times this year. Look at that, a berry this time of year, a blackberry. Not a lot, but it's still flowering, and it's acting like it wants to be, you know, a kind of a fruit tree that is going to produce all year round, which is great. Look at these apples. Those are red Fujis. There's a few there that aren't getting quite as much sun. They're not as red as the ones in the front and the ones down below. Look at that. And then I love this time of year because I get free kind of nutrients for the trees. The leaves fall, and I take all these leaves. Look down here. I've got a lot of work to do where I've got to get all these leaves up. But that's actually going to go back in the tree wells. They don't go into the green bin. They go into the tree wells, and they get recycled. So that's fantastic. Sage plant, a little bit of flowers coming in. They usually produce a lot of flowers in the spring and summertime. We've got raspberries. I am up in the air whether or not I'm going to keep the raspberry plants here. They're very sun sensitive, so I might put in my little tropical bed area where it's going to get more protection, even more than this area. This area doesn't get a lot of sun, but for whatever reasons, the raspberries, look at that. There's a little raspberry that didn't fully developed, but it's trying to produce. It's just a tough area for it. And I'm really happy about, look at that, here's some more raspberries that are growing on this vine. Can you guys see that? Right there? Yeah, producing raspberries. This little guy, this tree is only about a foot tall. Planted about 4 or 5 months ago. It was a foot tall. It doesn't look like it's grown at all, but it has produced a few miracle berries. Look at that. Those fruit don't taste like much, but what they do is they change the composition, how food tastes in your mouth. They change food that is actually very tart and makes it very sweet. So it's a great, great plant to have in your orchard. And these are edible, what are these? Hibiscus. Beautiful hibiscus plant. In this area, I've got mangoes. This is the Maha Chinook. It's looking pretty good. Just did a video on those guys. Excuse some of the weeds in the background. I gotta cut these weeds down, but these weeds are actually gonna become food as well. So almost nothing goes to waste. Here's a grape. What kind is this? This is the ladyfinger. You know what? The one I said previously was a muscat. This is the ladyfinger. And then check this out, this vine. I don't know if you can see it. This is a blueberry vine. And I've got blackberry vines growing from the other side. Then I've got this blueberry vine that is coming from, boysenberry vine that's coming from right here. I'll show you. It's yeah, boysenberry vine. And this is becoming kind of a natural kind of fruit forest. Where we've got to kind of dip down and work our way in between the fruit trees, which is fantastic. This is a plum, a satsuma. Love this fruit, very sweet. Love the satsuma. And then this last guy over here in the stone fruit section is my nectarine tree. This thing had so many fruit, branches broke. And I had to become a makeshift plant doctor and treat it and put gauze. First of all, I had to figure out a way to pull the branches back. They literally snapped in two places, over here and over here. It snapped. This is back in June. And tried to save as much of the tree as I could. The mistake I made was I let too much fruit mature in the tree. I should have thinned it out and thinned it out pretty heavily. So that's a lesson we learned. But I went and had all these makeshift pulleys and these other things used to prop up the tree and hold it up. And surprisingly, the tree branches that broke are still producing leaves and branches and look pretty decent. So this is the Desert Delight Nectarine. Great, great tree for the orchard. All right, last section, folks. Last section in the orchard. I might cover a little bit of the potted plants, we'll see, but here's the last section in the orchard. This is a lemonade tree, pink lemonade. So it doesn't get fully yellow, but the fruit has a pinkish kind of flesh to it, and it's sweeter than a normal lemon. Starting to get more flowers. Really want to get more lemons so I can start making lemonade. Got another lemon tree that I planted. This is just a regular Eureka lemon, and that is a key lime. Key lime to make key lime pie. So we're really excited about that. And then we've got some really positive results. I've been frustrated a little bit with my citrus. Some of the first trees to grow in, and sometimes you just got to be a little patient. And you know, the trees will come to you over time. But we've got tons of blood oranges. I'm guessing there's about 50 or so on this tree. They're just now becoming visible. Couldn't even see these things a couple of months ago because they were green. But now we've got citrus season coming up and they're starting to yellow up. They will actually like a little bit of cold. That will help them get sweeter. And the blood oranges are looking really good. We've got over here, we've got the gold nugget. This is more of a late season, and hence we're not seeing any yellowing up, oranging up yet. But we've got a few. We don't have a whole lot on this tree. I'm seeing more now. There's probably maybe 10 to 20. Let me back up 1 second. I forgot to mention this Oro Blanco. If you want a grapefruit that is incredible, that tastes amazing, get an Oro Blanco grapefruit. This is probably my number 2 or 3 favorite fruit. White flesh, very sweet, not tart, incredibly refreshing. They're hard to see the way this plant grows and kind of protects the fruit, but there's about 15 or so. Look, there's some right there. About 15 or so on this tree. I want to get them to where it's producing about 40 or 50. And then just real quick, all of these trees are semi-dwarf or dwarf trees. So you look at the height on these, they're not going to get much bigger than about 8 feet because they're grafted trees and they're grafted to be dwarf and semi-dwarf. That's a nice way you can get a lot of trees in a short amount of space, and a nice way you can get a lot of fruit at a level that you can reach it. This is the star of the show. We're ending at least the planet tree portion with the tangelo, and I can't even count how many tangelos are on this tree. 100 plus, easily. Incredible. They're starting to get color. The citrus are going to start getting ripe for me right around January, and they're going to carry into about April, May, particularly with the late season things like the late season gold nuggets. The cara cara is kind of mid-season for citrus. That's a cara cara. Hopefully we'll get some fruit going into next year. But man, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at all the fruit on this tree. Check that out. So anyways, pretty good success. I'm gonna do a video on the citrus. There's a lot of things I can share about some of my experiences. But let me know, guys, if you have citrus that has this amount of fruit. I'd love to know if you do any thinning on them or if you just let them do their thing. All right, let me know. All right, the last thing I share, I do have a lot of fruit that are in pots. I've got blueberries. We won't cover that today, but we will cover this gold nugget. I showed you the one in the ground, but the one in the pot is actually doing better. And by the way, these water bottles, those water bottles I use because some of the plants require more watering than the others, and I don't like lugging a water hose around everywhere. So the plants that I'm giving a little additional water, I'll fill up the water bottles and I'll water it that way in between watering with the water hose. But look at that. Sometimes growing things in pots are the best way to get fruit quickly. And this is a perfect example how we're getting more fruit on the potted gold nugget mandarin than we are with the ones in the one in the ground. These are boysenberries, raspberries, and blackberries. Took a lot of wind damage, but the base of it is doing okay. And again, these bottles I use, you know, I'll water with the water hose about every 3 days in this weather. And then in between, I'll just fill up. I'll have that water bottle filled up, and you know, day and a half, I'll just pour that water bottle into it, and they're good. But a lot of growth, a lot of great growth. So that is it. That is the tour, and we got through that relatively quickly compared to last time. Okay, that is the tour for today. We have covered about 65 to 70 trees that are in the ground, maybe another 25 to 30 that are in pots. So the orchard count is getting up there. It's getting pretty high. And before we go, one of the things I want to share with you is that when I started this channel, or actually when I started the orchard, before I started the channel, I started planting some trees, had about 8, and then I quickly realized that most of my fruit was coming at a couple of times of the year, and I had huge gaps. So kind of the wisdom and insight I want to share with you that if you are building out your orchard, if you've got 8 trees, 10 trees, 20 trees, whatever it is, think about how to spread out the harvest at different times of the year, how to spread out your harvest to make sure that you're having fruit that is ripening and that you can actually partake in at different points of the year so that you don't have these huge gaps. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about in this orchard. We're now getting late season fruit. The apples, the pomegranates, mangoes here in Southern California are late season. Passion fruit, that thing just cooked year round. But again, we got a lot of variety, and we're now spacing them out. Bananas, forgot about the bananas. We're getting bananas late into fall. So just think about that. Thought I'd share that with you. Thought it'd be some good insights to think about as you are building out your orchards. And again, as we go, thanks again for joining. Appreciate all the support. Hope you enjoyed the content today, and hope you guys are having a good one. Connect soon. Leave comments. I respond just about to every single comment on the channel, so love that engagement. All right, and so until then, we'll see you next time. Take care and have a good one.